The Christmas Fairy. She looked around for somewhere to sit, gingerbread latte in one hand and her shopping bag swinging from the other. The tables that were not taken still needed to be cleared, and the staff were run off their feet. She would sit outside, a better place to meet up with her family. Pushing her way through the door, she discovered all the outside tables were taken as well. She saw a lady at a table by herself, probably in her mid-50s. She was pouring herself a cup of tea. "Would you mind if I joined you?" The lady gave her a welcoming smile. "Be my guest." Gratefully, she dropped the bags on the floor and, sitting down, slipped her feet just a little out of her shoes. The fresh air soothed her aching joints. Out in the street, the evening was drawing in. Above, a few wispy clouds reflected, crimson and gold, from a sun that had already sunk behind the row of shops. She drew the collar up on her coat and cupped the beaker in her hands. "The tree will look lovely when they turn the lights on," she spoke to the lady. "The council do such a good job. It's quite magical, especially for the children." "We all need some sense of mystery," the lady chuckled. "It helps us find ourselves." What a strange comment, she thought, while sipping coffee. Her breath lingered for a moment as she breathed out. She watched it drift upwards and fade away. Above, a flock of pigeons put on an aerial display. Grey and white they flashed, as they twisted and turned, reflecting the last of the daylight. "It's amazing they don't bump into each other," she said. The lady put down her tea to follow the gaze. "They take their cues from one another. One will change direction, and the rest will follow." "Amazing. I wonder how many people see it." "Only those who look." The lady topped up her cup. The street filled as families poured out to watch the big switch on. The crowd surged in waves. The noise level rose. Children were hoisted up onto broad shoulders. She peered into the crowd to see if she could see her husband yet. It was difficult enough to see through the mass of people, but beanie hats, flashing Santa hoods, and reindeer antlers bobbing about made it all the more difficult. "I do hope they get here in time," she thought anxiously. The crowd split. It made way for a disabled child in a wheelchair, as if a magnetic field dispelled them. A tense-looking mother pushing the wheelchair looked very alone as the crowd kept parting away from her. Behind them, the shopper spotted her family and jumped up to give them a wave. Her husband waved back and bent down to point her out to the children, who then ran on ahead to her. She lost sight of them for a moment. Then she heard the lady next to her speaking to the little girl in the wheelchair. "Oh, how wonderful! I thought I'd seen a fairy." Her mother looked emotionally grateful. The lady went on. "You've made my day. You look so lovely with all that tinsel in your hair. Quite the prettiest fairy I've seen tonight." Through a slightly crooked face the little girl beamed. The shopper's own children arrived and caught the sentiment. "It sparkles. You're so cool," her youngest said to the girl in the wheelchair. The mother bobbed down. "And you look great too. A proper little Rudolph with those antlers." The shopper noticed how delighted the little girl looked. Even her mother was looking more relaxed. "Mummy!" Her children grabbed her attention. The countdown was starting. 10, 9. Her husband hoisted the youngest up to see. The other two children stood on her chair. Everyone joined in the count. 3, 2, 1. The town centre blazed as all the Christmas lights flared up. A big cheer went up and music blared from the loudspeakers. Floodlights in changing colours played on the richly decorated Christmas tree. Above, fireworks exploded in all directions. With her feet still aching, she turned to see if there were any more chairs to sit down on, but the chair next to hers was empty. "I never saw her leave." "Who?" asked the husband. "The lady sat here." Her husband looked at her quizzically. It must have been a Christmas fairy. She hugged the children close in the magical atmosphere. "They come in many guises, but I wonder how many see them."